I never thought I'd be the kind of person to change religions. Faith was something people were born into, wasn't it? You followed what your parents did, celebrated what they celebrated, and that was that. I was raised in a Christian household, though not a deeply religious one. We went to church on Sundays, said grace before meals, and observed Christmas and Easter, but there was never much discussion about God beyond that. Even as a child, I had questions. I remember sitting in the pews, watching the pastor speak, and feeling like something was missing. I was supposed to feel inspired, moved, but, most of the time, I felt disconnected. I saw others around me nodding, eyes closed in prayer, completely absorbed in their faith, and I wondered why I didn't feel the same. Was something wrong with me? Did I not believe enough? I pushed those thoughts away for years, telling myself that doubt was normal. But the older I got, the harder it became to ignore. There were so many things I didn't understand, so many aspects of Christianity that didn't sit right with me. The idea of the Trinity confused me. How could God be one but also three? And why did Jesus, if he was God, pray to God? Who was he praying to? Every time I asked these questions, the answers I received felt incomplete. You just have to have faith, they would say, but my heart was restless. Faith, for me, wasn't about blindly follow it, was about seeking truth. By the time I was a teenager, I had quietly distanced myself from religion. I wasn't an atheist, but I wasn't really anything. I still believed in God, but I didn't know who he was or how to reach him. Life went on, and I tried to fill the void with other things: parties, relationships, endless distractions. But no matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to drown it out, the emptiness remained. One night, after yet another meaningless evening out with friends, I found myself sitting alone in my room, scrolling through my phone. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just something to distract me from the growing sense of loneliness that had begun to feel like a permanent companion. I ended up in a random online discussion about religion. Someone had posted a verse from the Quran, and without thinking much of it, I read it. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. I read it again, and again. I don't know why, but those words hit me in a way nothing else ever had. My heart had been restless for so long. And here, in a book I had never even considered reading, was a promise that peace could be found, that the emptiness I felt wasn't permanent. I didn't know what to make of it. That night, curiosity took over. I started looking up more about Islam. I read article after article, watched videos of people talking about how they had converted. The way they spoke about God, about faith, it was different from anything I had ever encountered before. There was no confusion, no contradictions, just pure, simple belief in one God, without intermediaries. The more I learned, the more I felt drawn to it. The next day, I downloaded a digital copy of the Quran. I told myself I was just reading out of curiosity, that it didn't mean anything. But deep down, I think I already knew something inside me was shifting. The first chapter of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, was unlike anything I had ever read. It wasn't a story, it wasn't a command, it was a conversation between a person and their creator, a plea for guidance. Guide us to the straight path. That line stayed with me. Wasn't that what I had been searching for all this time? A straight path. As I continued reading, I began to feel something I hadn't felt in years. Clarity. The Quran wasn't just a religious book, it felt alive. It spoke about things I had been struggling with my whole life. It reassured me in ways I didn't even realize I needed. One evening, I was walking across campus, listening to a recitation of the Quran on my headphones. I was lost in thought, overwhelmed with stress about an upcoming exam, personal struggles, the weight of my own confusion. And then I heard it. I will guide you to the straight path. I stopped walking. My heart pounded as I looked around. I hadn't been paying attention to where I was going, And now I realized that I was standing on a long, straight, concrete path that cut through campus. The symbolism was undeniable. My mind raced, was this a coincidence, or was God trying to tell me something? That moment changed everything. I couldn't ignore what I was feeling anymore. It wasn't just curiosity, it was conviction. But I still hesitated. I had never actually met a Muslim before. Everything I knew about Islam came from my own research. If I was really going to explore this, I needed to talk to someone who lived it. I thought of a girl in one of my classes, a quiet student who always wore a hijab. I had never spoken to her before, but something pushed me to reach out. After class, I gathered my courage and approached her. "Hey, can I ask you something about Islam?" Her face lit up with a smile. "Of course." We sat together for hours that day. I asked every question I had, and she answered them all with patience and kindness. She wasn't trying to convince me of anything, she was just sharing. And for the first time, I wasn't being told to just have faith. I was being given real, logical answers. Over the next few weeks, I started spending more time with Muslim students on campus. I observed the way they carried themselves, their sense of peace, their unwavering certainty in their faith. It wasn't just something they practiced on Sundays, it was their entire way of life. They were kind, generous, and grounded in a way I had never seen before. Then, one night, I had a dream. In the dream, I was handed a book. When I opened it, light poured out of the pages, filling the entire room with warmth. I looked up and saw Arabic calligraphy glowing in the air. It was so vivid, so real, that when I woke up, I felt like something inside me had shifted permanently. I knew what I had to do. The next day, I texted my classmate. "I think I'm ready," I told her. That afternoon, she drove me to the mosque. My heart pounded the whole way there. I wasn't scared, I was just overwhelmed. Was this really happening? Was I really about to do this? The Imam greeted me with a warm smile. We spoke for a while, and then he asked, "Are you ready to accept Islam?" I took a deep breath. "Yes." I repeated the words after him, my voice shaking with emotion. "Ashhadu an la ilaha illa Allah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasul Allah." The moment the words left my lips, I felt something I can't even begin to describe. It was as if a weight I didn't even realize I had been carrying was lifted off my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I felt whole. I feel at peace. It's been over a year now, and I can honestly say that embracing Islam was the best decision I've ever made. My heart is at peace in a way I never thought possible. If you're searching for truth, keep searching. One day, when you least expect it, you'll find it. And when you do, you'll know.